What's up, dude? How you been? It's good to talk to you.
Yeah, it's a good talk. It's been a minute.
I know it has been a
Right.
while.
Yeah.
Uh, KUMA Films might be one of the biggest reasons that people know you. You're pretty massive on the internet, so you want to kind of explain to some of those people that might not be familiar with KUMA Films what that is.
KUMA Films was and is a YouTube channel my brother and I started way back when we were living in Taiwan. We were just living there. We find people with like unique talents or weird hobbies or, street performers or performance artists and featuring these people that we meet and find or people that we find interesting or do cool things and we, present them in a hopefully an entertaining way to, show them off to the internet.
Totally, 100%, yeah. And you guys incorporate a lot of high speed footage in your films, typically.
We do, yeah. Yeah, we love slow motion. We've always been
Yeah,
obsessed with it. Even before we had a Phantom, we were always using like Twixtor and like, way back when that was our only option to get high speed.
yeah, for sure. How did you even start? Like, where did you come up with the idea to do all that?
So after my brother and I graduated from university, we both majored in Mandarin Chinese, and we're like, oh man, our Chinese still sucks. Like I don't think we could really get a job using our language skills. But my mom's from Taiwan, so we're like, hey, we have family in Taiwan, and I know you can go out there and you can teach English. So like maybe we go out there, spend a year after college, decompress, really immerse ourselves in the language, and then maybe by the time we get home, just being immersed in only speaking Chinese and reading Chinese for a year or two, maybe we'll come back with a little more confidence and the skills set to like, either go back to get a master's or, or find a job using utilizing language. So we went out and filmed. We had a bunch of camera gear. It was always just kind of a hobby growing up. Always messed with my parents' cameras and stuff like that and whatnot. So before we went to Taiwan, we had a 5D Mark II and, your trendy lenses and a glide cam. And we just went out and like, hey, like while we're out there, maybe we'll like film some travel videos or, just we didn't even really have an idea or a YouTube channel at the time. So we're like, hey, we'll just go out and bring our camera gear. Maybe we'll film something fun while we're out there, just kind of show my family or parents what we're up to while we're teaching English. So we got out there and I did parkour and martial arts at the time too. So I'm like, oh, maybe I'll film some parkour videos or stuff while we're in Taiwan. So I brought the gear out there and then started teaching English. And we lived next to a college called I think NCCU is Zhengda in Mandarin, and I filmed a parkour video there. But right before I left, I had herniated a disc in my C5 through C7, and the doctors were basically like, no more parkour, no more like acrobatics and stuff like that. Like,
Jeez.
you're done. Like, don't do it anymore. I'm like, oh, now, my arms were like numb. I couldn't really
Yeah,
feel much. So, like, I was healing at the time. So I went to Taiwan, started to heal, started feeling better. I'm like, maybe I'll just start training again and maybe we'll film a video. So we filmed a parkour video and put it up and we'll edit it. And we didn't have a channel yet, but I didn't want my parents to see it because I didn't want them to get mad. Like, the doctor told you not to train anymore. No more parkour. What are you doing? So we made a one-off channel just to post it. I'm like, well, maybe if we post it, people out here will see it in Taiwan. Maybe I'll find some friends to train with,
totally.
by just putting out some content, maybe connect with the community out here. So we couldn't think of a name for the channel. Which, like, nothing, like everything we wanted to use for a channel name was taken.
Yeah,
So there was one grocery store in the town we lived in called KUMA, and we had a picture of us in like bear onesies,
yeah,
like from like years ago. Like, hey, that can be our like thumbnail, and we'll just name it after the one grocery store that is by us that went out of business. So
no
like,
way.
you didn't think twice about the name. It was just like, oh, it was just to put up this parkour video, and then we uploaded it, and then the next day it had like 200,000 views. Like, what the freak? Like, and apparently, like, people at the university were had saw it and it started just floating around, locally. And then from that, like, it started getting on the news, and the more people started picking it up, and
That's crazy.
throughout Taiwan, it kind of started trending. Then it kind of pushed outside of Taiwan, but mostly within Taiwan, started growing. Got like, I think maybe 300,000 or 400,000 views in the first week or two, and then we started getting, like, oh crap. Then we started getting like subscribers too. Like, oh, okay, well, uh, weren't expecting this, but maybe we just keep making parkour videos. This is kind of cool. And then the funny thing is the news outlets started picking it up, and then they started hitting me up to do like interviews because like parkour was just kind of starting to get big at the time, and no one in Taiwan, I guess, had really made like a professional looking. It wasn't like now I look back at it like, oh man, we could do so much better. It's not really good, but at the time it was like one of the, I guess, a better looking parkour video. So it was a little trendy at the time. And then they came and interviewed me, and all my family members, my mom's side saw it
Oh no.
anyway. And then my parents found out about the video anyway. But I didn't tell them for like the first month or so until I started doing like news interviews and getting on like television shows out there, like just asking about parkour and the video. So,
Wow,
and
that's
then we
crazy.
got kind of stuck with KUMA Films. It was,
Yeah, yeah.
mostly just a one-off channel. And then we wanted to make more videos doing parkour, and I broke my foot.
Jeez.
So while I was injured, my little brother went out and started finding like random street performers that we would come across in the city as we were, as we were living there. It's like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like, I don't know what contact juggling is. It's like that crystal ball, David Bowie,
Hmm.
and
Yeah,
like Labyrinth. So he found like a kid who was pretty good at that while we are on the street. Like, hey, you want to film a video? He filmed a video with him, edited it, put it out, and that started trending at the time too. Started popping off, got like 1 million views or something. I'm like, oh, this is crazy. Maybe we just film other people who are better at stuff than I am. And while I was healing, that was kind of like what we ended up doing. So while I was hurt, my brother would go out and just find people like street performers and whatnot and film these videos with them. And then we started just doing that instead. And then I got better, and we just kind of just
yeah,
focused more or less on parkour and more on just like these unique talents and people that we were finding. And then just kind of fell into it from there. And we were teaching English and filming these YouTube videos on the side. And
yeah,
after a while, we started getting like client work, and YouTube was starting to. They offered the partner program to where you could start getting paid.
yeah,
So we started just like after about a year, we're doing better doing YouTube and like film work. So we quit teaching English and just focused on doing YouTube and like commercial work in films.
that's amazing. That's crazy. I didn't even know that. That's really, really cool.
Yeah, had I known that it was going to be like what it is, I probably would have thought a little harder on the channel name.
That's sweet though. I mean, it's,
But it works.
yeah, it totally
Yeah.
works. So, do you and your brother still do the channel to this day?
Yes and no. During COVID, uh, that kind of made traveling difficult, and being able to meet up with people. And then around that time, I also had two neck surgeries, so I couldn't lift anything over like 5 pounds for like a year and a half.
Yeah, I saw that. It looked brutal.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. So yeah, those herniated discs that I got right before Taiwan just progressively got worse over the years, especially after doing stunts and stuff.
Hmm.
Just a lot of, a lot of impact. It started getting worse to the point where I needed to surgically fix it, and then yeah, I just kind of took us out for a little bit. So they kind of put a stall on things. Then during that, I kind of got burnt out.
Yeah,
So started just focusing more on just like commercial work and
sure.
stunt work once I was getting better. And yeah, also that was kind of when like the algorithm was really kind of not. It was like starting to change, and we didn't really change to like the whole vlog style
Sure.
format. So it was like the algorithm kind of didn't favor the type of content we were making anymore.
Hmm.
So it was also getting a little more difficult to keep the channel like up and running the way we were before.
Yeah.
But so it's been like a year since we've uploaded stuff. I have some stuff in the backlog,
Hmm.
and we're just kind of getting past the burnout phase again. And
Sure.
also the industry's kind of a little different right now with like stunts and film. So it's like, oh, I'm kind of getting to a point like, oh, I need something else to do like in between jobs. So maybe YouTube would be fun to get back into. So I think we're gonna, start working on YouTube again, just more for fun.
Yeah.
Maybe not as much as like our main source of income,
Hmm.
but just as a creative outlet again, the way I think we started and the way it should be. A lot of times, I think it takes a lot of the fun and the joy out of YouTube sometimes when you're just focused on like, is this video going to go viral? Are we going to be
Sure.
able to like get a paycheck or make money off, that, to where I think that's how we started. But then after a while, that's kind of, when it comes to your source of income, it kind of not takes away because it's still fun, but you definitely like your priorities of like why you're filming something
Totally.
sometimes change when you have a schedule you have to
Yeah.
stick to, or
Well, totally.
sponsors that are like, oh, we need 2 videos a month. Like, oh, okay, well, we can't put the time and attention into a video that you would like, because you're on a time crunch.
Hmm. Well, it's just like having a client. They want, you to deliver what they're hiring you to deliver. So it's probably like a push and pull between making what you want to make and making what will get the results that they want.
Yeah. And then I guess the other hard part is too, like they also demand a certain view count.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, oh man, like now you got like three things you got to work between. Like, all right, well now is this video gonna do well enough as
Yeah,
well? So there's like a lot of different pressures that kind of
totally.
burn me out, at least personally.
Yeah, not everybody understands the concept of YouTube being a job. Like you can actually make money at it, and how that works with, having to have a sponsor or getting a view count. Can you sort of explain what it's like to do YouTube as a career?
Yeah, yeah. So when we first started, it was strictly like ad revenue based.
Mm-hmm.
So just your CPM depending on the type of content you're doing or how often, like how long your videos are, will range on what your CPM is. Like cost per, I forget what the M stands for, but it's like basically how much you make per thousand views,
Mm-hmm.
and those are monetizable views. So it's not like for every thousand views, like however many people also click on the ads or watch a certain amount of the ads. That's how much like Google will pay out after they take their cut, which is usually like 30%, maybe 30 to 40%. But you can make the way, I guess, our sources of income through YouTube were ad revenue. You have we do Amazon affiliate links as well. But then also we would do licensing. So if a video would trend or go viral, we would license them to like we license stuff to like Rockstar and
Mm-hmm.
National Geographic and like different TV shows or commercials where they see a clip like, oh cool, we would like 5-10 seconds of this video, and we
Totally.
could license out bits and pieces of that, stock footage type stuff as
Yeah.
well. And then you have sponsors, brands like we have like Canon hits you up, like, hey, we have a new camera coming out, the new 5D Mark IV.
Yeah.
We'd love for you guys to like, we'd love for you guys to like make a video with the camera, and promote Canon, and they'll give you a budget to make
Mm-hmm.
the video and hopefully a little extra to save. Or a lot of people see Squarespace. We had a 2-year contract with Squarespace where we'd make one video a month where we would have we'd do a shout out to Squarespace at the end of each video.
Totally.
And that was another steady source of income. So between those we could make a full-time living between the two of us
That's awesome.
and have enough to like travel out as well, or
Yeah.
bring people out to us so we could film. But usually we'd more or less like use that budget to like travel out to a place, like say we go to Japan for like 2 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
and then we would just like stack up like 5 or 10 people that we wanted to film with, and we just like just boot
Yeah.
camp that whole 2 weeks and just film for 2 weeks straight and just
Totally.
get a whole backlog of content.
That's awesome.
So that was kind of like for probably a good 8 years, nine
Mm,
years. That was our our main hustle on top of like commercial work or film stuff that would come
totally.
along
Yeah.
as well.
That's
But yeah,
awesome.
so it's definitely very doable. But I think nowadays like it's a little bit more difficult to get like the bigger budgets they used to, or even like for sponsors to come along as often as they do. A lot of it's now more like before they were just interested in like, hey, make a cool video. We didn't care about how many views, but now it's kind of like they either expect X amount of views, or they'll pay you based on how many views your videos get.
Mm,
Just depending on how you negotiate with them. It's
yeah.
different for everybody, but it's a different landscape now than it used to be. Like there's still money there, but it's definitely not saying it's not as lucrative, but it's definitely a little more difficult. And I have a lot of
Mm,
other friends who do YouTube as well,
yeah.
who are kind of running into the same problem
Sure.
where like the budgets aren't as big as they used to, so they're kind of having to downsize or you know
Yeah.
change the format of the content that they're doing now in order to keep their businesses afloat on YouTube. But it's definitely very possible to do. I think I guess for us would be, if I were to go back and do it again, I would put more effort into like other sources of income like merch, or if you have a program or a course or something you can sell,
Hmm.
or some other ways, so you're not relying solely on ad rev or sponsorships to keep your
Totally.
channel up and running and stuff like that. I think there's other ways to do that that are a little bit more steady and in your control.
Yeah. That makes sense. So when you got your spinal injury, was that from filming YouTube or is that like stunt work?
A little bit of both. Mostly, so It mainly happened when I was in college. I was a mascot for my university at
Oh,
BYU. I was the
no way.
Cosmo, the cougar.
Yeah.
So it happened when I was in college, and there wasn't like a specific injury or like incident where like I fell on my neck and like, ugh.
Hmm.
It just kind of like, I was having degenerative like disc disease.
Sure.
So the discs were degenerating and just herniations from just like years of like martial arts and gymnastics and parkour. Just a lot of impact, a lot of twisting, just a lot of wear and tear is what the doctors said.
Yeah.
And then I was able to get by with like cortisone shots for about 15 years. It'd flare up, get a cortisone shot, or do
Wow.
PT, and it get the flare ups would go away, and I was able to avoid surgery for a while. But
Hmm.
then after like stunts as well, like more and more impact, it
Yeah.
just kind of gave out on me one day.
Jeez, that's brutal. That's crazy.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I think I just saw some posts of you doing some like rigging work where they were pulling you on harnesses and
but yeah, that one I was doing Phantom, so we're doing a high fall from the stunt performer, and they had me rigged up above the performer with the Phantom,
yeah,
and then we'd do like a quick decel down, and I just follow her as she's falling
that's
down.
awesome.
Was that what the rig was? Yeah, so I was harnessed up about maybe 20-30 feet up in the air,
Yeah,
maybe, yeah, 2-3 stories, and then do a quick drop, and then getting some Phantom shots.
that's so cool. Did you always do stunt work with the filmmaking, or is that something you sort of progressed into because of the high speed cameras and in your interest in martial arts and everything?
Yeah, so I mean, it all started out as just like film, doing camera work and
Hmm.
stuff like that. And then I met a bunch of friends who did parkour and were interested in martial arts as well. And they're kind of just starting to get into like the film world, doing like independent or like
Okay.
student films
Yeah,
here. So we started just training together, making our own like fight scenes and filming our own stuff. And then just over time, like we were able to like make more and more connections with different filmmakers or directors and stuff. And as we got more experience, we submit, our reels out to different
totally.
coordinators and stuff, and we're able to slowly, you know, make our way out into actual
Yeah,
like into the film industry, into Hollywood, and
sure, sure.
work on bigger budget films and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But it was mostly, yeah. And I always thought it'd be fun to do stunts. Grow up watching Jackie Chan and
Hmm.
Jet Li and like old kung fu movies. So I always thought it'd be fun to do it, but I didn't know the route or the avenue to take in order to like actually do it. Like it didn't seem like a feasible dream
Hmm.
until I met these friends, and through film and parkour, I was able to meet the right group of friends
Yeah,
and able to get into it. So, but parkour and film and YouTube has definitely helped, you know,
that's
get
awesome.
into that side of things as well. And then that also feeds into like high speed work because now that I'm on set for stunts, I'm able to meet directors, DPs,
Yeah,
and producers and stuff like, hey, if you guys ever need Phantom stuff, I have
totally.
one.
Yeah.
We could happy to help out, and then they'll be able to get a bunch of jobs
That's so
just
cool.
through stunts as well.
Oh, that's crazy. What's one of your favorite jobs that you've done for stunt work? I guess and or
Um,
camera stunt work.
I mean that one was pretty fun. Like that one I was doubling and doing Phantom work. So I was doubling an actor named Emil Hirsch
Oh yeah.
for that job.
Hmm.
So I was doubling him and then hopping in and out as Phantom Op on that feature. Um, a more recent one that's coming out soon, Captain America: Brave New World.
That's
That was
sick.
a pretty fun one. It was it was an interesting shoot, but it was fun because like I was able to work on that with like a lot of the friends that I started out with here in Utah.
Hmm.
So it was fun to like full circle that when
Yeah,
we're starting like, oh, it'd be so cool to work on a big budget Marvel movie or something like that
totally.
one day together, and then 10 years later we're like, oh, it's crazy, like we actually did it. We're all here working on this, on our Marvel on this Marvel
No,
film that
for
we always
real.
thought would be fun to work together. But then when we're reminiscing, so I'm like, I can't wait to go back and do these independent movies,
Hmm.
getting paid nothing together. It's like you always want what you had
Yeah,
or what you don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. The grass is
you
always
dream
greener.
about beating this up, and then, yeah, that's always green. Yeah. Now you're on these bigger budget films. Like, oh, it'd be cool to go back and do the smaller films together when,
Totally.
we're just starting. But it was fun. So that was kind of a fun one just for like kind of that surreal moment of like, oh, we did it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's crazy. So, did you ever think in your wildest imagination when you first picked up a camera that you would be doing crazy stunt work in Hollywood?
No, not at all. I always thought it'd be fun. Like, oh, it'd be cool. But, that never seemed like, the kind of the route at that point is like, oh, we'll see how long we make YouTube work or
Hmm.
like maybe going in like the DP route or just filming, like doing like commercial work and stuff like that. But even then, it didn't even seem like not feasible, but it was still kind of like way out there, dream wise. Like, oh, cool. Like I was just happy doing, you know, just doing YouTube.
Totally. Totally. What would you say is there what do you like more or less about working on like a big Hollywood set versus doing like an indie film?
That's a good question. They both have their pros and cons. Like I remember thinking when I was like on smaller, low budget indie films, like, oh, it'd be so cool to be on a movie with like, multi-million dollar budgets, like big budget films. Like it must probably just run so much better, smoother and whatnot. Then you get on them like, oh, it's the same thing. It's just they have more money to waste and they blow more money when you're not shooting.
Totally. Oh my
So
gosh.
I feel like in a big budget film, you're kind of a cog
Mm-hmm.
in the machine. You don't have a ton of creative control. You're just kind of, which is fine. Like sometimes it's just fun, just like, hey, I'm just happy to be here, happy to be a part of this project. But sometimes on like lower budget films, there's less pressure, but also you have a little more say over like the direction. Like say if you're choreographing a fight scene or doubling someone, you might have a little more creative control over the direction of the action takes or what you do in your character or not versus like a big budget Marvel film or something like that, whereas like the producers like basically what they say goes. No matter even if you have like a good idea, if they don't like it or don't want it, it's
Sure.
probably not going to pass and get through.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of one thing. Crafty's better
Yeah.
on a big budget movie, way better on a big budget film.
Totally. That's awesome. Well, can you
But they're both fun. I like both, but
yeah, maybe walk through what a typical day would be like on something, because a lot of people probably don't know what it's like to be on a big set. Like what's it like from, when you first get, a call sheet or something from a producer till you show up on set and then till you wrap.
so most of the time you'll usually get your call sheet literally the night before. Sometimes not until after you go to bed. You have to wake up in the middle of the night, see
Mm-hmm.
if you got your call sheet yet, to
It's the
see what time you have to
worst.
be on set. Yeah, right. Like, come on, guys. But a lot of times they have a turnaround, so they don't. If you get wrapped a little early, they, I think like 12-hour turnaround
Mm-hmm.
normally. So they can't. You can't be back on. They can't be back on set until that. So if you wrap at 6, but they don't get off till like 11, they can't really make a call sheet until until after that. So you don't really know sometimes. But
Totally.
so let's say you get your call sheet on time. I'll get my call sheet. Say I have to be on set at 5. To get into hair and makeup. You get up an hour or two early. You usually want to be to set at least 30 minutes early. I try to be on set early just in case anything happens. You don't want to be the guy who's late, especially as a stunt guy. You're not like, makes you look really bad. You're not a big name actor who can kind of pull that around. You get a lot of trouble. So I usually try to be a little bit early. I'll usually hit hair and makeup. You check in with the PA or, whoever's in charge. And then you'll go through your hair, makeup, wardrobe. That usually can take, if you're basic, no mate, like it's not like crazy alien stuff or anything like that. It can take anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. If you're on a set where you have to get like heavy prosthetics, sometimes you have to be there 3, 4 in the morning, and it can take you, you know, 2, 3, 4 hours. Sometimes
Jeez.
I haven't had a crazy, crazy long one, maybe 2 hours most. But some friends who've done like some of the heavier prosthetics, they've been in hair and makeup for 4 to 6 hours,
Oh my
sometimes
gosh.
almost a whole full day of work just in hair and makeup. And then after you get through hair, makeup, and wardrobe, go grab breakfast. And they'll usually have like catering or a buffet line. You can go grab breakfast, hang out for an hour or two, depending on what time I guess you're like you're set. A lot of the times like you're there early and you sit around. I'm sure you're well aware, like hurry up and wait.
Yeah.
You get
Totally.
there, and you could be sitting there for 5, 6 hours till you're even need to be on set. So you just hang out in your trailer, you know, chat with friends,
Yeah, exactly.
loiter the lot, whatnot, and then yeah, you go on set. You do your job. Whatever the day entails. It can range from anywhere from just being basically a glorified extra to doing fight scenes or sometimes prepping, for the next fight scene. while you're waiting, and then break for dinner or lunch. Go back, wait in your trailer a little bit longer sometimes. And then you wrap, and then you wait, and then you do it again the next day.
It's amazing.
So it's pretty. It's not as glamorous as it is made out to be a lot of times. Like, I mean, it's very
Sure.
fun. Like, I'm very blessed and grateful, and sometimes it's really exciting. But I think a lot of times I don't think people really understand how much waiting you're doing.
Totally. Yeah.
And it's different as camera crew though, because camera crew you're always, you know, it's also different because like you're always busy when you're doing like the camera side of things. You don't really get to like hang out as much. But I guess that typical day is like on a stunt side.
Yeah. So how do you stay, I guess, warmed up and ready when you're doing stunts if you have to sit around for like a long wait?
Right? Yeah, that's the key. Sometimes if you're lucky enough, they'll give you like a warning, like, hey, we'll need you in 30 minutes. So you pad up, you get ready, you start warming up. Sometimes I've been called in like, we need you now, and you you don't have time to warm up, and you just hope you don't get injured.
That's so wild.
But I always bring like a Theragun,
Yeah.
and just like if it's like a quick one like that, I'll just like Theragun my body as quick as I can, try to get like as thorough as I am to warm up. If I'm lucky, I'll just do like you know use stretch kicks,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like um I'll use like TheraBands and like stuff like that just to kind of get a quick warm up. Can't It's like I can go for a jog or something. So
Totally.
just a lot of like dynamic stretching, kicking, just trying to get my heartbeat up
Mm-hmm.
really quick to try to just like warm up as much as I can.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it's just you go in cold.
Yeah.
But yeah, but if you're lucky, yeah, they'll give you enough time to warm up and usually
Nice.
like 30 minutes or so. But yeah, and it's also different if you're doubling somebody. Sometimes like in between, if you're just sitting around, you'll go and you'll train the actor,
Mm-hmm.
or you can go back to like your stage and you can like work out or exercise. I've done that as well. Or
Okay.
sometimes I'll play Switch,
Yeah.
Smash Brothers. A lot of Smash
There you
Brothers on
go.
set.
That's sick. That's sick. When you're doubling for someone, do you ever like how much time do you spend with them on like rehearsing a scene or
um, I guess it depends on the film, what it entails. Like if you're doubling an actor and there's a lot of like fighting involved,
mm-hmm.
you see them quite a bit. You train with them, you'll teach them like the choreography as well. Sometimes like it's like not very stunt heavy, then don't see them as often. It's kind of like you show up on set because a lot of times the actor will just like go back to their trailer
Totally.
and then you just kind of hang out by yourself or like
Yeah.
on set. So it varies from film to film, but sometimes you're very, very involved with the actor. You become pretty good friends with them.
Mm-hmm.
You'll train them, you'll exercise with them, you'll work out with them, run over choreography, and then yeah, like I say, the other times you're kind of distant and you're just,
Sure.
kind of just acquaintances.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah.
even really get on a first name basis. It really depends on the actor, I guess. Sometimes some actors are really cool and they want to like get to know you. You build your character together.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like some actors, like they just do their own thing when they're not needed on set. They are off doing their own thing or they're in their trailer.
Totally.
But I like character like actors that are willing to like work with you. Like, hey, this is as much your character as it is my character.
Sure.
So let's like let's build it together because both of us basically have to become
Yeah.
that character as well. So it's very collaborative between
Totally.
actors sometimes, which is fun. You get a lot closer with the actor at that point.
Yeah. Well, that that brings up a question. As like a real stuntman, did you like the movie Fall Guy?
I did, yeah. It
Okay.
was it was awesome. It was fun.
Is it
Yeah, it was really good.
pretty accurate?
Yeah, actually, like outside like the like the scenes that aren't on set where he's like
Totally.
trying to solve the murder mystery and whatnot. Like a lot of that's pretty accurate. There's a lot of funny inside jokes if you work in film or in the
Mm-hmm.
industry that I don't think probably goes over a
Yeah.
lot of normal people's heads. Like there's that one joke where he's talking about like meal penalties
Mm-hmm. Totally.
and stuff, and that made me laugh because that's a very not a big problem, but that's definitely something that people will take into account.
For sure. For sure.
Even like some like the wire gags when he's like when he's on fire and he gets like pulled into that rock wall.
Yeah.
Like I make that exact sound when I get hit too.
Yeah.
Like even the sounds sound very similar between stunt performers. It seems like so.
That's
But
awesome.
it was good. I loved it. It was It was a really fun movie.
That's
Really well
really cool.
done.
Yeah, I thought so too. We liked it a lot, and we caught a lot of the film set jokes and the lingo that most people probably don't
Yeah.
realize, but they did good. It was cool. Nice.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's one of my favorites. And Ryan Gosling's great. He's a sweetheart.
That's awesome. Have you ever worked with Ryan Gosling?
No, I haven't. I would love to though one day.
There you
That'd
go.
be that'd be fun. He'd be a fun one to work with.
Totally. Who's the favorite actor you've worked with, if you have one?
Um, favorite actor. I didn't get to spend a lot of time with him, but just like watching Harrison Ford work was a lot of fun. He was everything I'd hoped he would
Yeah,
have been on set.
that's
It's
awesome.
that dude, he just super chill, but doesn't kind of care to not that he doesn't care to be there, but he's like, all right, let's do this.
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
that's awesome. What
he
project
was
did you
fun.
work on with him?
Uh, Captain America.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. So spent 3 weeks on set with him.
That's awesome.
So it was fun to watch him. Like, didn't work with him personally, but just being there in his presence
Yeah,
while he worked was great.
that's so cool.
He was fun. Emil Hirsch was nice. I really liked Emil. It was a little not off at first, but he wasn't as like open right off the bat. Like, hey, it's nice to meet you.
Hmm.
For like maybe the first 3-4 days until we started getting to the stunts and he started seeing the stunts that we were doing. And then I think he started warming up to me a little bit. Like, oh, okay, he's making me look better. And then we started chatting a bit more. So
Oh,
he was really nice, funny guy. Also, he's not a big actor, but what was his name? It was a local movie we did called Riot
oh,
here
okay.
in Utah. It was like one of the first bigger, not it wasn't like huge, but it was like one of the first films I did when I first got it started.
Yeah.
So, and it was cool. Him and Dolph Lundgren
Oh, no
were
way.
in it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
so, so it was fun. Shoot, what is his name?
Well, we'll figure it out.
I'll
We'll
think
put it
about
up
it.
on the
If I
screen.
remember, yeah, I'll remember it. Yeah.
I guess I would say, what's the worst injury you've ever had as a stunt performer? Well,
I will say the film.
yeah, you don't have
I
to
will say
say.
the film to keep because they're my homies as well,
Mm,
and I love them to death. So like, I'll keep it under wraps. But it was actually doing stunts, but I wasn't actually on stunts. I was actually camera operating
okay.
and performing at the same time as well. And I got caught in an explosion
Oh,
that I shouldn't have been in.
oh, geez.
So when it started off, so I was doubling, and the scene is a torture scene in this like old meat factory. So I was just in my underwear, just covered in like dirt and stuff. So wardrobe wouldn't give me clean wardrobe to change into when I had to switch to camera operating, and I didn't want to put my own clothes on because I'm disgusting. So he just had me operate in my underwear
Oh, man.
as well. So before we have like this little explosion, and the special effects guy's like, yeah, it should just be like a kind of a 20-foot puff,
Hmm.
round circle, should be plenty safe. We've tested it. I'm like, okay. So they had me back behind a blast screen, like a big plexiglass like wall,
Yeah.
basically. And I was on 100 mil,
Hmm.
but I'm Phantom, so I was technically A cam for that shot.
Yeah.
And for some reason, the director was like, hey, like Todd, I'm going to put you on a 50 mil, and we're just going to throw you a little bit, 15, 20 feet more forward. You should be fine. And my coordinator is with me. He's like, yeah, let's do it. So he was in the trenches with me. So I'm like, all right, well, if he's with me and confident enough, I can't be like, no.
Yeah.
Even though I was a little like, all right, we'll see how it goes. I didn't see any of the special effects tests. In hindsight, probably should have thrown a floating pad on over both myself and my stunt coordinator just to be safe. But I thought it would be fine.
Yeah.
Always speak up if you're uncomfortable is what I learned from this. But so I'm sitting there watching monitor, and I hear them yell 3, 2, 1, action, and all of a sudden the explosion goes off, and I just like see like this like flame on monitor go just toward camera, and then everything goes white. All of a
Oh,
sudden I
my
just start
gosh.
noticing I'm starting to feel a little hot. I'm like, oh, it's hot. Oh, it's really hot. And then I realized like, oh, I'm like in the explosion. So I like run out, stop, drop, and roll, as you're taught.
Yeah.
Run, realizing I'm on fire. I'm like, oh, I get up, realize like I'm not fully on fire, just it's really hot, and I didn't hit trigger. So I run back in
No way.
into the shot, hit the trigger, just hopefully I saved the shot,
Yeah.
and luckily we did. got the shot.
No way. Do
It
you have a
was,
post
yeah.
trigger?
Yeah, I had post trigger,
Oh my
and
gosh.
caught it right before the explosion went off. So, had the 6 seconds because we're on the VO 4K at the time.
No
So I had about,
way.
yeah, 5.8 seconds. So within
Jeez.
that, caught, ran, rolled, broke a
Yeah.
rib as I rolled because I slipped, ran back in, post trigger. And then once I realized the shot was good, I started like getting really hot and they're like pouring water on me as I'm like scrubbing through the footage to make sure the shot was there.
Oh my gosh. That's incredible.
then
Still got the shot.
Yeah, and we saved the shot luckily. And then I went back and looked at like the BTS of it, and what should have been like a 20-foot puff was like a 50-foot flamethrower.
Oh,
Just
wow.
went straight out and just torched my coordinator and I got
That's crazy.
like second degree burns on the shoulder, fried my wig.
Dang.
Yeah, so
Wow. I'm
it
glad you're all
was
right. That
yeah,
sounds so gnarly.
that was a pretty scary one. In hindsight, now it's a funny story, but yeah.
Yeah. In the moment, not
In the
fun at
moment,
all.
not as much, but that's probably one of the more scary moments I've had. But other than that, I've been pretty fortunate to like most of my injuries have come from just training. A lot of times, just like walking off a mat and I'll roll an ankle or something dumb. I've been pretty fortunate to haven't broken many bones or had many serious injuries on set. Slight
That's good.
concussion on Captain America. Wire pull
Okay.
kind of
Mm,
went bad. Well, not bad. They switched my partner last minute. So
okay.
the kid that I'd been rehearsing with for 2 days, uh, they end up changing the gag. We're going to put this guy in. He hadn't had a chance to rehearse it really. We had one walkthrough with the director right before we shot,
Hmm.
and what the gag was I have a get thrown up in the air in like a in wrestling it's called a fireman's carry.
Hmm.
Throw me up if you wrestled or even know anything like what fireman's carry is,
Hmm.
and they have super strength. So they throw me up in the air. She catches me by my ankle as I'm wired up, about maybe 6 to 8 feet high, and then
Yeah.
slams me back down on the other guy
Jeez.
that I'm working with. And he's supposed to like look up, kind of stand up halfway, and catch me chest to back. So he kind of breaks my
Hmm.
fall. But he just went for his gun. So instead of chest to back, he just stayed on the ground. And I caught the back of my legs on his back and just whipped me just straight to the ground and slammed
Oh,
my melon pretty good.
yeah.
And that
That's
one
brutal.
that one was kind of a freak accident. And I
Yeah.
don't blame, no one really to blame, it was just kind of just rushed and, didn't have time to like run it through with a new guy. It's kind of like a good lesson
Wild.
there is like don't, especially with stunts and safety, like, no matter the budget or the time limit, like don't rush anything stunts
Totally.
wise related, or
Hmm.
even or camera stuff if it's in a particularly sketchy situation where you're putting your camera or your camera operator in
Oh,
like
yeah.
a precarious situation, like take the time, you know, worry about safety, cameras and people, or cameras are
100%.
replaceable, people aren't.
100%. Always. Wow. That's crazy. I can't believe that. I didn't even know that story. That's
Yeah,
insane.
that's pretty
Oh
nuts.
my gosh. Well, I'm glad nothing else has happened to you recently. That's
Yeah,
good.
other than those two, those are the two worst. Other than that, I've been
Yeah.
very fortunate, worked with a lot of, you know, I feel like everyone I've been blessed to work with really amazing people who are always very, very safe. They take, your safety into account well before the shot. So,
Totally.
but if you ever have a coordinator or a director or someone who you're not comfortable with, never feel. One thing I've slowly been learning is never feel obligated to say yes, or don't be afraid to turn down a job or a shot or a gag. If you don't feel comfortable, you got to look out for yourself. As much as people want to look out for you, a lot of times, sometimes some of that can get bypassed, and you know, if you don't speak up, no one will for you. So a lot of times,
For sure. Definitely. So, what do you think's next for you? Are you focusing more on stunt work or jumping back into YouTube a little bit?
a little bit of both. With the film and stunt industry's been kind of slow the last year between the strikes, COVID, and another strike right now with like the video game industry. After
Oh,
this
okay.
last strike, Hollywood didn't really pick up the way we thought it would after the SAG strikes.
Hmm.
A lot of like Disney's moving a lot of stuff overseas. A lot of stuff's going to like the UK or Budapest. So like, the industry's a little slower right now, unfortunately. So I've been doing more commercial work right now with like, luckily I still have like the Phantom
Hmm.
and stuff like that. I have a friend out here who owns a robot. So I've been doing a lot of
Nice.
like commercial work with him, doing Phantom and, you know, Moco stuff as well.
Very cool.
And then, also the other reason why I'm like, hey, let's do some more YouTube. I'm ready and
Hmm.
have a little more time now to where, you know, not as busy on set, stuff like that, to where I can, you know, I want to start keeping the skills sharp, I guess, like getting back into
Sure.
it, you know.
Totally.
And
That's
then
awesome.
I've been diving into Unreal Engine recently.
Very cool.
So like spare time, been just kind of going back to school more or less,
Hmm.
diving
Yeah.
in, trying to learn a new skill set and whatnot,
Yeah.
which I think is great for like previs and tech viz stuff. So I think there's a lot of opportunity, and I think a future if you can learn Unreal Engine as well. So I think it's a fun thing to learn. It's super overwhelming, but
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Super
it's fun.
complicated.
Oh
It's
yeah,
cool
very
stuff.
much. Plus I don't have like a 3D background, so it's all like very very fresh for
Yeah.
me.
Totally. Oh, that's
but
awesome.
but yeah, but I think YouTube just for fun right now. Like I'm not even worried about making like an income right now on YouTube. I just think it'd be fun to start filming. It's been a minute since I've like created something that I'm proud of. So I want to get back into it and just have
Nice.
something to do, fulfill myself creatively,
For
if
sure. It's
anything.
important. You gotta scratch that itch.
Yeah, and maybe diving. A lot of friends have been like really pushing doing like shorts and reels and stuff like that. It seems like
Hmm.
you know I might have missed the boat from not pushing it when it was like really really starting to get big, but I think shorts are a good way to grow if on
Totally.
on social media, especially YouTube. So many people now are growing like full channels with never posting a single long form video,
Yeah.
which
For
is
sure.
awesome and kind of frustrating.
Yeah.
When you spend weeks on like a nicer long form video that takes you 2-3 weeks to make, that gets like no views, then you post like a
Totally.
10-second BTS video of that'll get like millions of views.
Yeah.
You're like, oh,
Super frustrating.
yeah. Which I'm sure you're, yeah, you make awesome reels and shorts. I love it.
Well, thanks, man. Yeah, I've been experimenting with that whole thing too, and it is very frustrating when you like try to do a review video or something of a much longer time period, and then you just put up a silly little slow mo clip, and everybody's like watching that, and they don't even care about the long form. You're like, ah, well, sweet,
Yeah,
but
God,
is what it is.
right. Yeah, at that point, like, is it worth it to do the long form stuff? But it's usually for you, kind of like
Totally.
more than anything. So, but it's good because you can turn a lot of your long form stuff into short form content. I think it's just a matter of like the balance between the two, trying to fit both in. But I
Hmm.
think short form content's the way to grow right now. If the goal is to grow like an audience or a channel, I
Hmm.
feel like if you're just getting started, short form content seems to be you know the most most accessible way to
Sure.
grow on
Yeah.
most of your platforms right now.
Yeah.
So
It seems to be getting a lot of reach, a lot of good organic traffic. So that's
yeah,
pretty cool.
yeah. How things been for you?
Good,
So
man. Really good. On the YouTube front, working on that specifically, I have been leveraging shorts quite a bit. I've noticed that like it grows much faster, like a much better reach on shorts than any of my long forms really. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. It's like great and frustrating at the same time, but I've got some fun, review stuff coming out hopefully. And other than that, I've been doing commercial stuff quite a bit and haven't really been on social as much. So this, doing more podcast stuff is kind of my creative way to get to talk to all the homies and do something that I want to do just to do it, and not
yeah,
have to be client work. So I can just be creative and just talk about whatever I want. So I'm pretty
yeah,
stoked on that.
that's awesome. I think that's smart. Yeah, good way to just stay connected, keep yourself you know creatively engaged.
Totally.
as well. Yeah, because you're probably super busy with like I don't know how you would find time with like how much commercial work you're doing.
It's like all of us. We all get so busy. It's like the work comes in a huge flood, and then all of a sudden it's not there.
Yeah,
So then
right.
it's
Yeah,
just like
kind
you
of
jump
feast or
on it.
famine.
Yeah, always. It's all over the place. So
Yeah,
it's cool
yeah.
though.
Still need to make a trip, come out and
For
visit and
sure.
do something together. I know we've been talking about that
I know
for a
that would
while
be
now.
amazing. I love
Yeah,
it.
be
That'd
fun.
be really cool.
Be a lot of
Right
fun.
on, man.
Yeah, dude.
Well, for the people that don't know how to get a hold of you, what's the best way to that they should find you, like YouTube or social media or
Yeah, so if you want to see like the YouTube stuff, it's KUMA Films, both on Instagram and YouTube. Like I guess a personal account where I post a lot of more like my stunt training or my own personal stuff is just my name Todd Todd_Robins Robins. I'm a little more active on that one. That's just kind of like my more or less my portfolio or how I kind of try to stay in the eyes of like coordinators and like different work friends and stuff. So that's
sick?
probably the easiest way. I check that more than I check my like Kuma DMs and stuff like
Okay.
that. but
Nice.
I get back into it, so either one is good. I'm excited to get back into YouTube. It's been a minute.